Welcome to the NEPA Scene Podcast, the only live streaming in-person arts and entertainment podcast covering northeastern Pennsylvania, offering a true alternative voice in local media. We're coming to you from the NEPA Scene studio underneath Center City Print in downtown Scranton. I'm Rich Howells, the founder and editor of NEPA Scene, and tonight we're here with Good Things Are Happening Fest organizer James Barrett and performers Joey Nardone of If Kansas Had Trees and Ed Cuozzo of University Drive. The third annual festival is coming up on Saturday, August 10th at the Scranton Iron Furnaces. So we're talking about this lineup of locals and bands from the tri-state area, learning and building upon each year of this independently produced event and what makes this one special. The new If Kansas Were Trees album, Where You Thought You Would Be, Ed joining Cold on tour and playing major festivals and venues across the country. New music from James and his band, being optimistic and highlighting all the good things that happen in Northeast PA, and much, much more. So please join our conversation with your questions and comments down below. We'll get to those later on in the show. Before we dive in, I just want to thank our sponsor, Center City Print, for providing this amazing studio space for us. Use promo code NEPA Scene in person or online at Center City Print for 10% off. Center City Print can bring your ideas to life in 3 locations: Scranton, Kingston, and Hazleton. These one-stop shops are locally owned and operated, offering high-quality printed products, copy and custom print services, and design solutions to help you, your small business, your nonprofit, your band, your photography, your art project, or any venture thrive. Visit them now at centercityprint.com and use promo code NEPA Scene online or in person for 10% off. So, James, tell us about the origin of this festival. So we've done a lot of print stories on this over the years, but we've actually never done a podcast about Good Things yet.
Yeah, that's true.
Funny enough.
First year you did it with Bob.
Yes.
And then I remember the ticket quote, which was hilarious, because I was freaking out at the time about ticket sales. Buy some tickets before James has a meltdown, and I was having a meltdown. But yeah, so the origins pretty much are, honestly, I feel like this is probably the only positive thing to ever come out of me having like a bad day. But pretty much like I threw an idea out into the world about on Facebook and on Twitter about just trying to do my own music festival, and there was multiple reasons behind it, but selfishly one reason was definitely I just wanted to play a festival, and I was like, I was always seeing my friends play some awesome stuff, and I was like, damn, I feel like we could start one here and it can grow into something huge, then I can get my friends' bands to play here. And so I just like threw this hypothetical idea out, and I didn't ever anticipate that people would care that much, but the Facebook post blew up, Twitter post blew up, and by the end of the first day, I had like hundreds of people asking me to play and asking me to vend, and like as if the event was already like a thing.
Yeah.
So I was really stunned by just like how insane the response was. So we decided to try and do it 3 months later, which was everyone advised us not to do that. Rightfully so, because I think if I could go back in time, I'd be like, that's literally the stupidest idea I've ever heard in my entire life. But somehow we did it in 3 months, and the first one was, I would say, a really big success for something super DIY and independent. And then from that, I realized if we could do this in this insane rushed manner, then we could probably do it for real next year. So then we had our second year last year, and I think that was definitely a bunch of growth from the first year, just in terms of production and attendance and vendors and just everything, because we kind of had another year under our belt and some insight on how to do it. So hopefully that leads us to year 3 and we do well this year, next Saturday.
So what was the overall concept? Because you're calling it Good Things Are Happening Festival. There's obviously more.
Yeah, so I always feel like, I've been here forever. And I mean, you've known me since I was like 17, I think.
Yeah.
It's been like 10 years. It's really crazy. And I've seen so many good things happen in NEPA, and I also see so many people that always have problems about everything that comes together in this area, and that there's not enough, and there's not enough opportunity, and and I kind of can understand where some people's frustrations come from, and I think like as of recent, we're doing better. We have more places to play. We have the Ritz now, and the V Spot's doing shows, the Bog's doing shows, the Clarky's is doing shows, which is good. But for a long time, there really was nothing after like the Vintage Theater left and New Visions left. So aside from I just feel like we never really had anywhere to play, and I would always have friends reach out to me and ask me to play in this area, and I had nowhere to put them. So I always felt bad because all my friends would be booking me in other cities, and I could never return the favor here. So that was part of it, that I felt like we had a really good scene in this area. We just had no like space to really go to, and I feel like every music scene needs like that one spot that like everyone just goes to. You're always gonna go and know someone there. There's always bands playing there. So since we didn't really have that, I kind of thought this could be a good bridge to getting some other bands into this area. And yeah, I just wanted to focus it on being just a positive thing, and that if you're not happy with the way things are, you can go out and try to make something happen, and we did.
And this is not like a small production either.
No, not at all.
There are some. I've definitely been to some shows that were maybe labeled as a music festival, but maybe weren't exactly an actual music festival. So not that there's anything wrong with small DIY shows.
Yeah.
It's mostly what we cover. It's mostly what I enjoy going to over bigger stuff. But to see something on a local level being taken to that next step, especially the second year. The stage was huge. You had this big screen there, that sort of thing. Can you talk about how that has...
Yeah. I mean, the first year, definitely, we went into it thinking it would be this kind of like DIY thing. And then, we had over 400 people show up. And I was like, oh my God, this is definitely bigger than I thought, But we were able to really go all at it with production last year and this year as well because of Matt Kessler Productions. And if you're watching, I love you, and I'm sorry I bother you all the time. So because of Matt Kester, he was able to help us get that incredible stage last year, which I feel like the stage alone brought the event from like DIY to very, much a real legit thing.
Yeah, for sure.
As well as just like, once you have all the tents down there and the setup and everything, it really does just kind of come together really nice. And I do think the Iron Furnaces also plays a role in that because it's such a beautiful spot. So it just feels perfect. It feels like it's right from downtown, and though it is like a real like legit festival, we still try to keep it, pretty DIY and family friendly or people friendly in the sense that you can come and go. You don't have to be stuck there for 10 hours and have no way of leaving without having to buy another ticket. We try to give out free water as much as we can throughout the day. So because it's usually unnecessarily hot. And we just try to keep it as people friendly as possible, because I know what it's like to go to these big festivals and kind of feel like you just lost a bunch of money and didn't have that great of a time.
That's that's something I definitely want to touch on in a little bit. Is the corporatization of concerts in general is a huge problem.
Absolutely.
It has been obviously for decades, but I think it's kind of reached new levels at this point. But also that music festivals in general feel more and more like a huge rip.
Yeah, it really, and it with all aspects of it, even when you're trying to just book artists, like if it's labeled festival, I feel like that alone will make the price go up, so it's like they have like the regular price plus a festival price, which is like just crazy, but I feel like doing this, it really gives you, each year I have more of an eye-opening experience about the music industry, and I still have so much to figure out, but this has definitely made me learn quite a bit about all that.
One of the cool things that I like about what you do is you have a different lineup every year that feels like that maybe that lineup could fit with last year's lineup, but it's just like we didn't get to do it this time, so maybe we put them on this time, that sort of thing, and it keeps kind of evolving, and there's definitely surprises for people. It's not just like one genre all straight through, and it mixes things up a little bit. So you have some new bands, you have some established bands. one of the new bands this year, If Kansas Had Trees, which I think is an interesting name in general. So let's get into your bands. What could you tell us a little bit about how the band got together, and what you guys get started in like 2020, 21, somewhere around there?
Yeah, so If Kansas Had Trees started actually at I'm Joey Nardone, and part of the Nardone music legacy in the area, I guess you could say.
For sure.
Hard to avoid it with the name. But yeah, the drummer and I, Stone, his name is, got together at Rockology Music Academy, which my dad started in 2016.
The best. We all practice there. It's the best spot.
Yeah.
We got together in 2016. Stone and I have been playing in cover bands ever since then. And then his best friend Maddox also took lessons at the school. And we kind of all just had a similar mind, where it's like the pandemic was ending. We were getting out of things. Things were opening up again. And Stone's like, yeah, like my friend Maddox has a very similar taste in all of us. Like, let's just try it out. And our first practice, we got together at Rockology. We wrote a song. And we were like, immediately were like, all right, we love this. We're in. And the rest is history. We've been playing. We just did a tour in June of all like pretty small like DIY shows, and then it capped off with that really cool show that we played with One Step Closer.
Yeah, I was there for that. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was an awesome
really good
opportunity to share the stage with them and all those other bands, and just that many people there. It was awesome. It was a great time.
I think you guys went over really well too.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I think we sound all right.
You guys killed it. No, they absolutely killed it, for sure.
Yeah, we're super grateful to James too to having us on the fest this year.
Yeah.
We're one of the younger bands out there on the scene right now. We started in 2020, but we didn't really start taking it too seriously until not that long ago. So shout out James for having us on. But yeah, so it's pretty cool that we get to share the stage with all these cool bands.
Well, your new album just came out last month, right? So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we recorded an album at JL Studios. Nothing but great things to say about them. And we recorded Where You Thought You Would Be. It's a whole premise around we're all in our early 20s. We wrote the whole album from like when we ended high school, started college, finished college. And it's just a very uncertain time of our lives, and it's an interesting part of our life to be at, and I think we were recognizing that. And the album kind of evolved into this idea of not knowing where you're going to be, and there's so many options in the future, but there's also so few. Like if you pigeonhole yourself down certain roads, and it became kind of this idea of like all the songs are pretty based off the same idea, and we got some pretty good success on the streaming platforms, which is pretty cool. Again, I'm kind of like a walking contradiction of I want our album to sell well at the Gallery of Sound, but it's also like I have to beg the Spotify lords to put us in the algorithm.
Yep.
And so I'm living that double life of like streaming gods help us, but also I work at the Gallery of Sound.
Right, and there's a kind of debate, and I've definitely heard both sides of it from different musicians I know, of whether it's better, like if I just as a fan want to support you, is it better that I just keep streaming the thing all the time, or do I just give you money and buy a physical album and now I have a copy? Like, where do you sit on that one?
Yeah, I mean, we have records actually made. We have vinyl at the store.
And so you definitely want people to buy.
Yeah, and we were gonna have records selling at the fest too.
Okay.
And shirts, but yeah, I mean, nothing is cooler as like seeing someone in public wearing like our shirt or something like that, or like they say that they bought a record. People post that they bought the record. That's way cooler than someone being like, oh, I streamed your album. Like, yeah, that's really cool, and we really appreciate that. And like, if you give us any second of listening time, that's a huge. I'm very grateful for that, no matter what. But yeah, definitely if you're buying the record or if you're buying a shirt or anything like that, that's super huge for us.
Yeah. I think it's like a little bit of both. You kind of have to like. For me, I try to buy the record and then I use Spotify, so it's like I have the record on vinyl. Plus, I'll just keep listening to it on no matter what, even if you're buying a record or not, you can't bring that with you all the time. You want, so
the same school of thought.
Yeah, so I think it's you have to kind of find like a balance in between all of that, which is which is tragic.
Especially when it comes to local music too, I think it's very important to have a physical copy because stuff disappears from streaming all the time. Spotify is big now. In 5 years, it might not be anything. We don't know. I mean, how many different platforms have we had over the years that we thought, okay, well, this is what the internet is now. And then it just, the dominant, force comes in and changes that. And then, okay, and you're like, okay, now what? So a lot of that stuff disappears. And I see a lot of I get nostalgic for local bands that I saw 15, 20 years ago or whatever. And I can't find their stuff now. I'm like, I'm so glad that I saved that CD. That's stuffed in one of those big binders. I was going through that recently because one of the things I always wanted to do in the studio was have a physical archive of local music. So right over there, I'm starting a little. That's partially part of my collection. But I want to get more, and anybody who comes or anybody who's watching that is in a band, and you have a box of 20 CDs up in the attic that you can't get rid of, like that type. Bring them to me. Put them on the shelf here. But eventually, if I get time, or I guess if I get bored enough, I could take those, put them on the computer and digitize them to make sure that I have, put them on all drive or something like that. Make sure that they're always out there, in some form or another. If somebody wants to hear it or whatever, you could upload it to YouTube. People can listen to it there or something.
There's so many ways to talk about the streaming industry as well. I mean, you're renting music for one. We all do it though. You're just renting the music you're listening to, and at any given time, you're right, it can just all vanish too. But I think there also was a charm in getting that CD that you really can't get anywhere else, and especially local bands. I mean, I had Ed's a Social State CD. I remember driving around with that before I had Spotify, and I would listen to it in my car, and it was just wasn't on any streaming services. The only way I could listen to that record is if I had the CD. And, there's definitely a lost charm with that.
It's the mystique of the artist too. I think is such a big part of it. That's the thing that kind of kills me about all the streaming stuff, because obviously I'm in support of everybody having as quick access to music as possible, whether that's through a Spotify or Bandcamp or whatever. It's just really disheartening how I don't know, it's we've all become, I don't know if you guys feel this, but I feel it deeply, that I feel where before music, not that music doesn't feel important, it always is incredibly important in my life, and I'm sure in your guys' life as well, but it felt so precious, and that ownership felt very precious, and having the record, not being able to immediately see videos of the band, all that stuff. You know what I mean? There was a whole mystique around all of it. And now it's just it's so instant. It's so instant, and it's that it almost becomes well, I'll get to that later, And that's the thing that that rubs me the wrong way about it, and trying not to sound too old manish about this, but it's just I just think that little hint of magic is
I remember listening to music and trying to picture what the band looks like.
Oh my god,
I wonder what the lead singer looks like. And then you have this image in your head of what they are.
Nothing.
And then you find out what they actually look like, and you're like, oh, I was way off. Or sometimes you're right on, and you're like, oh well, they sound exactly like how I thought they were gonna sound.
There's also that charm too, in I would know a CD comes out. And I would have to go to Gallery Sound the next day to get it.
That was the fun part.
That was the fun. And even at midnight, I still couldn't listen to it. That's the craziest part. I feel for now, now it's the record's out at midnight, which is a cool thing. It's right at midnight you could just share your record. But then at the same time, that waiting until I remember getting the Gaslight Anthem Get Hurt record at Gallery Sound in 2014. And I had to drive there the morning it came out, so I made sure I got it, And that charm was such a beautiful thing with music and everything. So
and it made you listen to albums all the way through and appreciate all of the songs and not just the singles, not just what ends up in a playlist. Things like that. That's one of the things I don't like about streaming either. Is you look at a lot of profiles and you see this song's got 50,000 streams and this song's got 10.
Yeah.
How?
Yeah.
They're both on the same album.
Yeah.
And then you realize, nobody, they
Yeah.
just listen to mixes and stuff. They're not really like, focused on the whole album experience.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Spotify lords.
Yeah. Yeah. Very
So you just finished up your first tour. How was that?
It was great. I mean, we have a lot of like some of the shows there were 50, 60 people there. Some of the shows there were 10. Like, but no matter what, we had a great time, and we played in some weird places. We played in Brooklyn in this like corner lot that was just like a barbed wire fenced in area on the corner of the block.
Actually,
and the opening band that was supposed to open for us backed out of the show like an hour before the show was supposed to start.
Oh man!
Oh my god!
So like that, it was a DIY tour for sure. Except like it was cool. And then we capped it off with that One Step Closer show, which was just like the biggest thing we've ever done.
Yeah.
And so like the juxtaposition between the two of like we just self-booked this tour, and then it was DIY. We were playing basements, and which we love. Like there's nothing cooler than being in a basement with 40 to 50 like-minded individual people, and like some of them sing the words to your songs, and that's like just the coolest feeling ever. And even if not, like we played in Philly, and it's just people that like it was a house show called the Goo Lagoon, and like people were like, yeah, like I don't know, like we just show up to the Goo Lagoon, whoever's playing, we come out and listen to, and like that experience of that kind of place, like those are the pillars of institutions that our band and our style of bands are founded on. And I think that the people who host those shows too, like even more like props to them, because it's also like you're in a college town and there's kids running through your house all the time. I know I wouldn't want that at my house.
No, absolutely.
And that reminds me of how a lot of venues used to run 20, 30 years ago or whatever, where people just went to the venue and whatever on a Friday or Saturday, they just went to certain places, and whoever was playing, that's who they were enjoying that night. They weren't, not that they didn't, not that bands didn't have followings. Of course, there were people that show up for certain bands, but you had that more of that nightlife was live music.
Yeah.
And that definitely is something that's lacking. So whenever you find it, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, we were really grateful for all those spots. Like we played West Virginia, and we played in Columbus. Because the Columbus show, it was called Dirty Dungarees, and one half of the building was a laundromat, and the other half was a bar. And so we walked in, and it was like 4:30 in the afternoon, and somebody's folding their laundry. They have like their chin on their one and folding one hand, and their other hand was a beer. And I'm like, this place is awesome.
Yes.
So shout out Dirty Dungarees in Columbus.
Oh my god.
Played some cool bands at that show too, and like we played in Baltimore to like 3 people. Like
I've done that too. Yeah, 3 people on the Baltimore show.
It was like the openers and their girlfriends. But yeah, and then like we played at State College, and that was another basement show. But that like college kids were there, and that was fun. So it's also cool that like we are at this age where we're the same age as like the college people.
Yeah.
And so being able to like go to those house party shows and not like standing out or anything is cool too.
I miss those days. I used to, because when I was 19 through like 23, 24, I feel like I played at all these house shows in Philly and like Delaware, Jersey, like all these random places, and those were some of the best shows we ever played, because like those people were strictly there just to see a live band, So those places were they have like a whole different feel than something like this does. And they're both beautiful, but I definitely miss those like DIY house shows in Philly for sure.
But there's definitely a different class. Like now, this is going to be really cool. Like just like how the One Step Closer show is something that like we're going to have circled on our calendars forever, and something that we're going to look back on with awesome memories. This coming up, Good Things Fest, is going to be one of those where it's like we're going to share the stage with so many cool acts, and just being on a stage like that is like, you never forget those.
Yeah.
Right. And so University Drive has not played a festival show yet. You're supposed to do one.
Sure
Didn't happen. We'll talk about that in a sec. But
good things didn't happen.
See,
good things didn't happen that day.
So this, I guess, will count then as your guys' first.
This is our first festival.
Music festival.
Yeah, and I've been really looking forward to doing one of these ever since he started doing it. It's just every time that he had it, we just always had something going on, or so I'm super stoked. I love all these bands that are playing. I love all the bands that played the prior years, and James has done a great job. I mean, when you were talking earlier about the growth between those two festivals, I mean, that was an exponential, obvious growth that you saw. Like, you should be really proud of yourself.
Thanks,
In the scene that kind of came together to support that, it's really a beautiful thing. But yeah, I'm so stoked and so grateful that University Drive gets to play a little part in it.
So the last time we did a podcast together in the other studio, so you were touring with Cold, and now you and some of the University Drive guys are members of Cold.
Yeah, it's crazy.
How did that happen in between?
Well, we got done doing that tour, and then we were, I don't know exactly what was going on. We were playing a lot of shows and figuring stuff out when we got home, because Tony, who was already in Cold, he ended up becoming our drummer on that tour, and then we just loved him, so he stayed with us, and it's been great. But then somewhere along the lines, we were kind of making plans, and Nick and John, the old players of Cold, decided they didn't want to do it anymore, and they're gonna, they stepped down. And it was right before this 2023 tour for Year of the Spider, and I just got a call from Scooter, who was like, "Hey, dude, you think you could do this?" And I was like, "Fuck yeah, let's do it!" Like, so we went, and we did it, and it's been great. I mean, it's been such a thrill to go out and play these sorts of shows, and to play with a band that has they have such a cult following, and there's such a legacy to what they do. So I feel a great responsibility when I'm playing with them to not fuck that up, sincerely, to not just phone it in and really know my stuff, because I don't know, I just respect the fan base, and I'm just yet once again, I'm just very grateful for the opportunity, and it's been great.
And you get to really, on some of these tours, like the little kind of summer run that you just did, that was at the Jazz Cafe.
Yeah.
You got to play both, really. You got to do University Drive, and then
Well, and I think there's even a lot of plans for that in the future too, for some of the bigger stuff, the bigger Cold tours and stuff too coming up. So it's, I mean, how can I put this? When I started University Drive, my expectations for University Drive were, if I could just play a show every once in a while and keep making some records or keep recording some music, and people like the music, and even if they don't like the music, I'm thrilled. That's all I want out of it. And going at it with that mentality opened up this whole world to me of opportunity, and I'm just blown away that any of this stuff has kind of happened, So the fact that University Drive also gets to kind of go and do these shows, it's incredible, absolutely incredible.
Have you seen the fan bases that, you have the Cold fan base, and then, you have University Drive has been building this fan base. You see them kind of sharing members, or
so
kind of turning on new fans to one or the other?
It's funny you say that, because, when we had toured with them in 2019, I felt like, in the beginning, it felt like some places it felt like, oh, some people dig us, and then it felt like other places people weren't really too into us. Then when we went back out in 2022, that's when I started to notice midway through the tour where people kind of were, it seemed people were getting more interested in what we were doing. And now these latest runs we've been doing, there have been return fans, who are coming up to me or Angelo or anybody else in the band and saying I love the Clear record, and actually invested in the music. So that tied in with like when we're not doing a run with Cold, like we just did a show with the Spill Canvas at in Pittsburgh, and then we did a bunch of, not a bunch, but a couple shows at the Bug Jar in Rochester, and we just did one Montage Music Hall. But the ones that we just kind of do on our own or jump on other bills, like a lot of we have just recently kind of seen return on all of that.
Okay.
When we went
That's
and played,
awesome.
yeah, which is nuts to me. So again, I forever go to these things just expecting, like, I love to do this. I love playing music. I like to make friends. I like to, meet all these people and be involved in the community, in some music community in some way. And anything else is a bonus. So I'm always just surprised by it,
And it shows too that it's about putting in the work.
Yeah.
And letting that grow over time too.
100%.
I think it's easy, especially on a local level, to do a bunch of stuff. You don't feel like you got enough out of it and just quit.
Yeah.
And just give it up, or just it's not worth it, or it's not worth the time and energy. But putting that in, you're seeing the returns over time, but it's taking years.
I think something to be said about that is I have a lot of conversations with Ryan Grutt, our bass player, about this stuff, and I think it's like just a different state of mind. A lot of people think of they want to get to the finish mark as fast as possible, whatever their personal finish mark is, or success, or whatever that means to the individual.
Right.
But I like, he and I really talk about like harvesting the idea of like legacy thinking. Like the long term, like the long game, whether that means you're a band for 3 years or you're a band for 23 years. Like, as silly as that might sound to some people, or, but I really try to think of it in those terms, and planting little seeds and doing things with real intention and artistic intention, and then hoping that those seeds will bloom into the things we hope they will. And if they don't, that's okay, because we're still going to do it because we love to do it.
Yeah.
So I think going in with very, I don't want to say small expectations, being open to anything, but just doing it because it's here and you like love to do it.
Yeah.
If you do it with that, then you win every time. And then I think the likelihood of good things happening is very possible. You guys all see what I did?
Oh,
So good.
that was good.
It's for you guys. Sorry. Wherever the camera is.
So we can get into to good things in general too, because I want to talk about. Let's talk about the lineup and how you chose the bands for this year, because like we said, each one has been different, and each one kind of offers something unique. I've definitely seen a lot of reactions the first 2 years of like somebody watching the band that they like, and then they're talking to a friend, they turn, whoa, what the hell is that? You know, and it's just something, they're exposed to something new.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah. It's a weird process, trying to pick bands and everything, and we try to, we don't try to do all one genre. I feel like last year we had a couple different genres on the bill. But what we do try to do is, segue them in ways that it's not, so it's not super jarring if you're not prepared to listen to something like a lot heavier. But I do think that for the most part, we have a lot of bands that you can go to this and find a couple bands or all of them, and you're gonna like something, and that's what we try to do. And it's definitely like a really hard process because we only have so many slots, which is the goal is to hopefully grow this into something that's like 2 days long or 3 days long, or because then you can really include. There's so many more people I wish I could include every single year, and bands that have played, bands that haven't played. And because a lot of the whole reasoning of starting this is I always say it when I travel and I play music anywhere else, that NEPA just has such good music, like our local scene is incredible between Scranton and Wilkes-Barre. Wilkes-Barre, obviously, I mean, so many legendary hardcore bands have come out of the area, come through the area, and then I mean with Scranton, obviously, like there's just generations. You have like the Menzingers, you have Tiger's Jaw and all them, and you have like the newer generations, like If Kansas Had Trees. They're too good for being 23 years old. It's insane.
Oh, thanks.
It's the damn truth.
And it's really cool. So I just feel like everywhere I go, I preach about how good the bands are in this area, and like I said earlier, I just always felt like there wasn't a whole lot of opportunity for people to be able to play here. So to me, this is just like a good way to combine the best of both worlds, bring some bands in that I love, like, you know, Halogens and Old Soul and Cara Cara, bands that are not from the area, and allow them to start being able to dip their feet in this market over here, because no matter what, the way we grow in this industry is through, you know, networking and community, and the goal is that hopefully, you know, how one of these bands coming to play this show will obviously meet a bunch of new fans, and then be able to meet other bands to play shows with, you know. So I just think overall it continues to support everything involved, you know. It's just a ever growing thing. But yeah, so after that huge rant, picking the lineup is really difficult, but I feel really good about the bands we have this year, and I'm super excited about it.
Let's see, I'll put them up on the screen here for everybody. So we have Wicca Phase Springs Eternal is the big headlining act this year.
Yep.
And so you can check out our interview with Adam on our website now to get a little more insight into that. But you know, having talked to him in the past before, he's you know, likes to remain mysterious.
Yes.
And is very cagey with his answers and stuff. Very careful with how he words things. So he's not giving away too much of how they're going to do this, but is being a solo thing, he's going to do a full band this year. Yeah. So you don't even really know the details of how that's happened, which I think is I know
a little bit, but they're definitely keeping it pretty secretive, which is honestly awesome, because it's making me super excited to see it, because I love Wicca Phase. I think I've talked about it, like that album Suffer On, when it came out in 2019, is like unbelievable. So good. I think Adam is just such a good songwriter. I mean, Charmer from Tiger's Jaw, that record was just like amazing. You know, I mean, Slow Come On. I mean, some of the best songs I feel like I've ever heard have come through Adam, which is just so insane. So to be able to have him, you know, he played the festival the first year with Pay for Pain, but I remember that year we did try. I had asked him about Wicca Phase, but it just didn't seem like it was the right move then. But when he agreed to do it this year, I was just so thrilled, and the response was incredible. Like, I knew it was going to be good, but when we announced that he was on it, it was like my phone was blowing up. It was awesome. Nice. It was really cool.
So let's see who else we got on here. If this will load, that'd be great. There we go. James Barrett. Not that guy. Let's see. Old Soul. Yes. You said they're from
Massachusetts. Yep.
Okay.
So I've just, again, through playing shows, meeting people, I was able to meet Jess, who's the singer of Old Soul, and she is an incredible songwriter, incredible guitarist. Her voice is amazing. Her band just absolutely fucking rips, and I've never been able to see them live, but I've been listening to them for years. I was on a compilation with them a couple years ago as well. So they're just a band I've been trying to really get into this area for so long. So she was definitely one of the first people I hit up for this year, because again, like, there's not many opportunities I have where I can bring a band from Massachusetts into this area to be worth their while. So I'm very, very excited to have Old Soul on this bill, and I think people are gonna love them.
And we got Pucker Up.
Pucker Up is gonna be great. I'm sure everyone has heard of them by now. They are just
we got to do their first interview right here.
Oh, awesome!
Almost about a year ago, just about a year ago, I think now.
Damn,
awesome. Maybe a little bit, maybe even a little bit more.
It's already been a year. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
They've grown so fast because they started at the NEPA Scene Open Mic, was their first couple of shows, like public shows.
Yeah.
And I right then I knew, I'm like, okay, they're gonna be big.
Yeah, I mean,
people around here are gonna love them.
I met Anche with you, Rick.
Yes. How many years?
2015.
Yeah.
And we were playing the NEPA Scene Open Mic at Thirsties. Yeah. I think I was 18 and she was 15 or 16 at the time.
Yep.
And I just remember seeing her play and being like, I was blown away by how good her voice was and everything. And then also, I remember me and my dad both looking at her mom when all the comedians went on afterwards and started saying a bunch of inappropriate jokes, and I was like, oh god, this poor mom right there. But then now I get to know Anshe, and clearly they don't give a shit.
No.
But
in fact, I think maybe some of their songs might make these guys blush now.
Yeah. Which is hence why they're going to go a little later in the day, so some of the kids can clear out.
Which is great too, because when like I said, when we met, she was very timid to get on stage.
Yeah.
Little ukulele.
Yeah.
These nice soft songs, and then to see her grow as an artist, and then come back years later and be like, oh yeah, now I have this radical punk band.
Yeah, and like amazing stage presence, all of them.
With actually something to say, which is just so rare in the genre these days.
Yeah, no, I think they are fucking awesome. I love all of them, and the second I saw them play last September, I think we played together at the Bog. I was just so proud of being able to know Anshe for all this time, and then see her pack the Bog on a Wednesday night, which is very hard to do anywhere on a Wednesday night.
Yeah.
And yeah, it just made me so happy, and just it felt really cool to see her finally do what I was hoping she would do for so long, which is start a band and just start fucking ripping. And yeah, they're great, so I cannot wait to have them play this year. I think they're gonna crush, and I think they're going to have people come out in numbers, it seems.
Absolutely. No question.
We also have Caracara.
I think it's Caracara.
Caracara.
Okay. They're a band from Philadelphia. They're on Memory Music, which is, I'm pretty sure that's the name. That's Will Yip. That's his label, which he's produced, tons of Menzinger records. And,
records ever.
Some of the most successful, punk
I've been dying to pick his brain.
Yeah, oh my god, I can't even imagine. Yeah,
he's
dude's a wizard.
Exactly. He's really shaped the sound between Philly and Northeast PA.
Yeah.
So much of that.
Yeah, no, he's incredible, and as a producer, he's easily one of the most I look up to him so much, as a producer. I think his work is incredible, and what he does with certain bands is just he just takes them to the next level. He's working with Origami Angel now. He's worked with Citizen, Title Fight, Turnover, Menzingers, Tiger's Jaw. It's just can't really get much better than that,
He's got an incredible band. Yeah. Incredible. He did a Quicksand record that was it was like their big return album after so many years, and it was mind blowing. Still, it's interiors.
Yeah. So for anytime I see anyone on this label, I'm always intrigued, and they've just been a band that I've known of for a while, and I finally started listening to them, and we met each other through Twitter, because they also made a post about looking for shows to play in our area, saying, does anyone know any contacts outside of Philadelphia that were looking to play Northeast PA and all that stuff, and I reached out to them, and it just felt like a good fit, because again, I'm trying to bring bands into this area that normally don't have that opportunity,
So good things can come out of Twitter.
The craziest thing is I have met so many important people through Twitter, which is just everyone asks. Even a couple months ago when I played with Jimmy Montague at the Ritz Theater, which that show I would not shut the fuck up about, because I love his music so much, and I met him through Twitter. I met my old label through Twitter. I mean everybody through that app, and now it's definitely going to shit, but I'm grasping onto it as long as I can, because it really does. It's such an easy way to network, and it's wild. I've met so many people through Twitter. It's really, really wild. So yeah, I'm really excited to have them play. They're really, really, really good, and I think people are gonna like their sound a lot.
And we got the Resonators.
Yes, yeah. So my friend Willie, Scranton native, is the singer of that band, and they've always just been one of the coolest people I've ever met, and amazing songwriter and amazing musician. And I think I've seen them with a full band once, but I've wanted to get them on the festival for so long, and it just hasn't worked out. So this, again, going into year 3, was one of the first people I hit up, just to really try to get them on. So I'm very stoked to have them play, because I think they're now located in New York.
Okay.
But I don't think they've played here in quite a few years.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it's been quite some time.
Definitely been a while. Halogens.
Love halogens. This is great. I love just keep giving me the. I'm like, wow, what are all these beautiful bands you keep naming? But
them all together.
Yeah, who could have done this? But no, Halogens is the best. They're from New Jersey, and the first time I ever played with them was in 2016 at the Sherman Showcase, it was called at the time, I think, or the Living Room. I can't remember what it was called at the time back then, but I met them years ago, and I just thought they fucking ripped. And from that point on, we became friends, and we remained friends through Twitter. And I just remember for years, I've always loved their shit. And they played in Wilkes-Barre a bunch back in the past. And then for a while, we were both on Refresh Records. And I just think they're so talented. They're all some of the nicest dudes ever. They're hilarious, and they're just such a fun band to see live. And like, we just played with them at the V Spot a couple months ago. It was so fun, and I'm just very stoked to have them back again. Just to once again give them another shot at playing in Scranton, because I think people would absolutely love their music.
And we got a couple locals too open up Love Lab.
Love Lab, yeah. I just saw them at Jam Fest, which was awesome. Crazy sound. I don't even know how to begin to describe it. We have a nice bio written for them on our Instagram that
they're so cool.
Yeah, it'll explain them better than I can ever explain them. But yeah, they're awesome. One of our co-founders, James Skoka's in that band, and we're stoked to have them playing this year. I think they're just a very they're a very out there band. I'm just very excited to see them on a much bigger scale, you know, because Jam Fest was awesome, you know, seeing them outside and this like little thing. So it would be cool to see them on the big stage. But yeah, stoked for them. Those Clever Foxes, my friends for a long time, who I'll actually be be filling in on bass for them for that show. So I'll have to do double duty that day. And then obviously UD, we got the Kansas boys, Pucker Up. Who else am I missing? I think
that's everybody.
That's everybody? I'm not missing anybody else?
Nope.
We talked about everyone. Okay.
Got everybody.
James.
Wow. That was
So how do you talked about maybe doing another year with, maybe adding a second date, things like that, and that sort of thing. You know, how do you balance that without it turning into like just a monster that you cannot control?
Well, one of my best qualities is spreading myself far too thin to the point where I am absolutely insane. And, this is year 3 of that being really pushed to the limit. But I do think that this thing is it's such a positive event, and it really, like, the day comes and goes so quick. It's so insane that it feels like a holiday where it's like I have all this build up, and then I'm there and I walk like 40,000 fucking steps that day, and then I wake up the next day and it's over. You know, it's like it's really insane, and I love it. But I also, like I said, I really think that I've thought about doing like a Saturday and a Sunday eventually, where, and then with that too, you can also have certain days be more genre oriented.
Okay.
You know, which I always thought as well. And then if we're really insane, you could do a Friday night show with like a big headliner and a couple local bands, and then Saturday and Sunday, which is just like that'd be insane. But that's down the road. If we can make it through this year, maybe I'll consider doing 2 days. But
right.
The goal is to continue to grow it into something really big. Because I really do believe, like, every time bands play it, they tell me it was super fun. They had a great time. The vendors always say they had a great time. Like, every year, the best part about it is just the response from the people that go there, the people that vend, the bands. I mean, everyone there. It's just really, really positive and a very welcoming environment, and it's a really cool thing. So that brings me a lot of joy, being able to just give anyone something to do for the day and have it not only just, give them something to do, but they support 11 bands and vendors and food trucks and all these local establishments in our area. So I think it's a great way to just continue to build our community. So the goal is to hopefully be able to grow it into something without it totally consuming my life. But I do think that each year I learn a little more and I get a little better at being able to handle it. Also, we have Jess Mione helping us this year. If you're watching Jess is truly an angel. Jess is one of the founders of the NEPA Horror Fest. She's been doing events for so long. One of the coolest people, most badass people I've ever met, and seriously saved us so much this year because she's so good, so focused. Because I'm very scatterbrained and all over the place. So she definitely helps us stay in line. So I'm very grateful for Jess, and I think that with her on our team now, we can really do no wrong. So I think we'll be able to continue to grow it over the next couple of years without it being too much, you know.
So let's talk about maybe some of, and this is for everybody here, about your experiences at music festivals, local, national, whatever. Good ones, bad ones, anything that sticks out to you that you maybe had a great time, maybe you're scarred for life, whatever the case may be. I'd love to talk about some of those.
I feel like Warped Tour was like mainly my festivals I went to growing up. I went from 08 to 13, I think.
Yeah.
I've had all sorts of experiences there. One which is that water is too fucking expensive. Right. I remember one year I was in like 6th grade, and I didn't want to spend money on like $7 water, so I just kept drinking the Monster energy drinks because they were free. Yep. And I threw up so bad. It was right before, I think it was like right before like Alkaline Trio or something. It was awful. So that is part of the reason why I've insisted that, I know it sounds like it's like a minuscule thing, but we try our best to provide as much water as possible for everyone that goes. Yes. Because I don't want anyone.
It's a big thing.
I don't want anyone being like, oh, I can't wait to go spend $7 on a water and have it be gone in 3 seconds and need another one. You know, especially if people are drinking all day. I feel like it's just like a safety hazard to not even provide it. So that's one thing I really like about what
ask Blue Ridge Rock Festival about that one.
Oh boy, oh god,
one of many that had that issue with not having enough water for people.
That's insane. That's like so hazardous. Oh my god. So that, and then also I just I like having it be re-entry because even just a couple months ago I was at I think it's Shadow of the City. It's the Bleachers Festival in Asbury Park. Awesome show, but once you're in the Stone Pony, you can't leave, and it's like I don't know if I want to be there for 8 hours straight without being able to like dip for even a tiny bit. So I think that's kind of like a sham, for a lot of festivals. But obviously, I'm not putting an event together that big, so maybe I'll understand that if we ever get to that capacity. But as of right now, I try to keep it as friendly as possible for everyone.
Sure.
I never really had a festival experience until I started playing festivals with Greg.
Oh wow, okay.
I never went to any of the Warped Tour stuff or anything like that, and it's not that I didn't want to. I just never did it for some reason, you know. But my first just venture into that world, like that shit behind the scenes is fucking frightening. It's just so. It's chaos. It's absolutely chaotic. Outside of the most recent one, not the incarceration thing, but the Rock Fest that we did.
Yeah, it was just called Rock Fest.
Yeah. And it was so pleasant and so nice. And I'm grateful to do any of these things. Like, please don't hear me the wrong way. I just mean it's a lot. It's like sensory overload, But I mean, I don't know if I was a concert goer, if I would enjoy that. I like being in a venue, man. Yeah. I like being in a space. That being said, I think what James does with Good Things is kind of a special thing because of the location, because of the way he's kind of set everything up. It feels just so much better, I feel it's outside of the realm of chaos of a lot of those other things. So.
Yeah, I feel like, because as a concert goer for many years, and then as a music journalist and that kind of stuff. Like stuff like Warped Tour was amazing because we would get these opportunities to interview the bands all day because they were mostly sitting there doing nothing. Yeah. So there was they had a whole tent just for us behind the scenes where all day it was in and out. It was just like somebody would just walk in and be like, hey, you want to do an interview? Great, sit down. Yeah. You try to schedule them in advance, and they did try to keep people to a schedule, but obviously people are all over the place, and they're walking into a new venue every day, and things are in a completely different place than they were the venue before and that sort of stuff. But so it was this kind of controlled chaos, but it was a lot of fun. And I miss those kinds of opportunities because they don't really do that kind of stuff anymore. You don't really get that unless you're maybe like a big, chain or something like that, a big, huge website or, magazine. Do they still have magazines? But the big festivals in general, I think, are a lot like, to me, I don't know if it would be worth the money as a concert.
They're also so expensive.
They're so expensive, which I feel like that's a larger issue that I think maybe deserves its own podcast. Just talking about how we're pricing people out of live music.
Oh yeah,
and it's almost it's becoming classist at this point. Where we're just saying that like you just don't get to experience this because you're poor. Because you don't have a lot of money, because you have to decide between paying the rent this month or going to a show, and that, like, to me, that's insane that we're at that point. That,
even like I love that. I'm unfortunately I'll die on this hill. I fucking love Blink-182. It's a curse. It's a curse. I'm embarrassed to say it in the year of 2024, but no one should have to contemplate, can I afford to see Blink-182?
Right.
No one should have to, you know what I mean? No one should have to go and be like, can I afford to pay $250 for a horrible fucking seat? At a stadium.
Well, like I would love to, even I'm not, I'm not so old that like I'm a big Rolling Stones fan.
Oh yeah.
Like
oh
that.
my God, they're like $1,000.
I would love to see, a legacy band like that just once. It'd be really cool. Yeah. But I don't want to sit in an echoey, noisy stadium 10 miles away and watch them on a screen. I could just buy the DVD and watch that, that's crazy.
It's so, like, if you want like front row seats, you're paying like,
it's just
like I can't even imagine how much money you pay at a Stones concert for like pit tickets.
The money is crazy, and I just feel like the experience overall in a lot of these things, because like Blue Ridge kind of blowing up this past year was kind of I think like this was
I did not hear about this at all.
It was kind of symptomatic of this whole issue where you have these festivals that we're the biggest, we're the best, we've got everybody, we've got so many bands, and then you look at that lineup and you're like, well, okay, you've hit every demographic, you've hit every age group, everybody's going to show up to this thing. But it's like, but how much of it are you actually going to get to see? Like, you see like 50 bands a day, and now it's like, okay, there's 150 bands over 3 days. You're missing a lot of people, you're missing 90% of them. Just right off the bat. By the time you park, by the time you get into the venue, by the time you get to the stage, and then somebody else is playing another stage at the same time. So you have to, like, it's not like Warped Tour where you could kind of, it's shifted each day. I think how they did it was pretty clever. And it was shorter sets and stuff like that. With these things, I think like they're too big. There's too much going on. There's too much to take in. There's too many people.
Too much ground to cover.
Exactly.
You're walking miles.
Right.
Even again, I'm sorry, everybody. I saw Blink-182 last May. I saw them at the Hershey Stadium. Horrible event. I'll never go back. It was such a bad experience. We had to walk, I think, 2 miles from where we parked the car all the way to the venue. And then I remember we got in there. There had to be 30 bathrooms, like total, 30 toilets total, and there was 30,000 people at the show. So like every bathroom had like these lines like out the door. People were like fighting each other trying to get into the bath. It was literally chaos. I'm like, what? And to see all the small things live, you know what I mean? I'm like, this is what I'm putting myself through. $32 for like one, for like a beer. Like, oh my God, dude.
And that's just, and that's at least in some kind of enclosed space with a parking lot. Like a lot of places, like this festival where kind of in the middle of nowhere. We're gonna just put it in a big field.
Yeah.
There's woods every, you know.
No idea where the fuck you're going.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So like,
oh my God.
cars are getting stuck in mud. So like, there's just miles and miles of. There was rain the whole time. So they canceled the one day. They blamed it on the poor weather, but the weather had cleared up. It really just came down to the fact that literally their entire staff was just walking out because they were being treated like garbage. They weren't being let go. So people were working 24, 48 hours straight.
Oh my God.
With, you know, there was nobody could find water. There was, you know, there was a lightning storm and people are under trees in a lightning storm because there's nowhere else to go.
Oh my God.
It's like, it was the combination of all these things of too many bands, poor planning, not picking the right venue, not working, you know, not treating the employees correctly, not organizing everything correctly. These things can go wrong so fast and so easily. And to think that like so many people traveled across the country, some people fly from other countries to come to these things because this might be the only chance they get to see some of these big bands and together on one shot.
They have like the worst experience.
And exactly. And like, that's their impression of America now. You know?
And it's just a capitalist, greedy mentality of the organization, of the organizing of these things that causes it to be such a fucking shit show that doesn't have to be. You know, I mean, if you literally have, it doesn't have to be 40 bands.
No, it doesn't.
You know, it can't. A great festival could literally be 5-10 bands, you know, priced out right. Bands could still be paid. Everyone could have a nice time still. Right. I just don't understand it. And I think maybe that's what's always personally for me made me feel a little weird about them. Sure. Again, I'm not saying like the few that I've participated in now, they've been incredible. You know, it's just it's a lot. And
when you see it run like a well-oiled machine, that's
the ones I've been a part of have. It's just, I'm talking behind the scenes chaos, but you know, it's the Blue Ridge thing or, you know, the Capulet Fest thing, like all that stuff.
For those who don't know, University Drive and Cold were set to play this Capulet Fest like what, 2 months ago,
something like that. Yeah, something like that.
And so that whole thing, it seemed like because this guy had done stuff in the past that you know had some kind of success, maybe not on this level.
Yeah, he had other Capulet Fests. That
and he had like, you know, big names in terms of like they could fill big clubs
Norma
and stuff
Jean
like that.
was on the last one.
Sure. So you have, you know, some names that people recognize and stuff like that. You know, Cold, obviously. And you, as it turned out, he hadn't paid he was supposed to rent a speedway, like a you know, race car speedway sort of thing, which is not crazy unheard of because there's one in the Poconos and they do all kinds of stuff there that seems to be successful. But the one that's in this place, they hadn't paid them, so and literally at the last minute, the venue announced, we have nothing to do with this festival, and it's not going to be here. So whatever the festival wants to do, go to them.
They moved it to like a smaller capacity spot.
And people were already en route.
Yes,
like
this was literally the last minute.
Headed there, which I couldn't believe how all that shit kind of ended up turning out. You know, I mean, I'm horrified that they. Like that festival is kind of the perfect example of everything we're talking about here. You know, I mean, they had $700 tickets listed, you know, VIP, all this stuff, and I mean, and the thing is like these people had paid that, you know, and then they ended up in, I think, Hartford, Connecticut is where they ended up. At like a
long while
an hour away.
So did it still end up happening?
Well, they had one day essentially of it. And then the second day basically got shut down or something, and then the third day the dude who was running it, Estevan or whatever his name is, he just, the last day, he's like, oh, it's going to be sold out. And then they just put up a thing like, it's canceled. And you people, it's, you know, all you haters or whatever. He literally scammed a bunch of people, took their money and ran. you know,
right,
and oversold.
Well, that's the worst part about like this and Blue Ridge and whatever else is everybody wants refunds because it's like, well, I didn't get to see the band. It's on you that you canceled it. It wasn't an act of God. It wasn't anything else. It was your poor planning. You not paying the bills. That's not our fault as fans. We want our money back. And what ends up happening most times is like, oh, you get a class action lawsuit, and then everybody gets like $20 check in the mail if you remember to fill out a form, and that's probably all you're gonna get from something like that.
That's
like,
what's
that's
happening.
crazy.
I'm watching it. It's kind of happening right now. They have the class action lawsuit going against it, all that shit. So I don't know how it's all going to turn out, but you know, I don't think that guy will be booking anymore. And I feel no guilt. I feel no guilt for the way that he had treated people. So I feel no guilt saying any of that stuff.
We're going to use him on next year's fest.
We're going to have him.
I think he's a good asset to our team.
Yeah, I mean, totally different in terms of what you're doing and how that works and that sort of thing. You know, building a festival from the ground up independently and stuff too, which I'm sure has its own challenges.
Yeah,
you know, has
100%.
hurdles that you have to get over. I mean, I'm looking around at the quality of it and going and like. In my mind, starting to do the math of how much all those things cost.
Too much money. So I mean, it's all insane, you know. And you know, we priced the tickets at $25, which I get. You know, $25 for any local show can be steep, but at the same time, when you put it this way, you're paying like $2 per band.
Right.
You know, that's what
and it's an all-day thing.
All day. You get access to vendors. You can come and go. You can hang out and veg in the field all day. On top of that, like I said, the money is supporting the people playing and, you know, making sure that we're able to provide even just a space for people to have this opportunity, you know. So there's so much money that goes into it. I'm very grateful. We got a grant from Lackawanna County this year, which was a big help. And, you know, we're super grateful. We have a ton of awesome sponsors that each year I'm like really blown away by just how many people sponsor us, you know, and like even that alone feels like it's just a really awesome thing. And I'm very grateful that my time in this community has allowed me to meet so many awesome people that also believe in what I'm doing. And we can't do anything without, you know, people that sponsor us, the grant that we got and everything. So we start each year pretty much. This is the first year we started with any money at all, you know, because of the grant. So yeah, it's a lot of fundraising, a lot of random last minute costs. And you know, we do it because we just want to do it, you know, because it's a beautiful thing. And like I said, the feeling of being there the last 2 years and just having like people come up and say like this has been like the most fun I've had all summer, you know, people travel in from this to go here. It's just like it's really awesome, you know, because like I said, it's not often that feeling left out and bummed out that you're not playing like a bunch of cool festivals. It's not often that something like could turn into something so great, you know. And I kind of realized that like once I threw the idea out there and I realized just how many people also felt the same, you know, and felt the same that like we all want this opportunity to be able to play, you know, for a bunch of people. And I'm just glad that we're able to help facilitate that in any way or capacity.
And you know, what I love is, you know, with the name and the idea is all about positivity. Yeah. And that is, you know, something that NEPA Scene has tried to do with, you know, most of our coverage is 99% positive. You know,
the most negative person I've ever met. Right? I'm joking.
What's funny is that you know, people only see like this version of me most of the time. When I do the open mic, you know, same thing. Yeah. I try not to share, you know, my political opinions or my, you know, too much of my own personality outside of, because I feel like the focus of everything that we do should be on the artist. It shouldn't be, it's not, you know, I'm not a Howard Stern. I'm not like, I'm, you know, I'm controlling the interview and you're here for me. Oh, and you're here too. And like that sort of thing. Like to me, it's always been the other way around.
Yeah. I've always felt very like grateful anytime I've been on this. I think I've been on it 2 or 3 times now. And each time, I mean, I just think you do so much for, we talked about this last week. You came to our show, our Brendan Brish show.
Yeah.
You do so much for everyone in this area, and I mean, you just go out of your way to like just highlight people who are, you know, working their asses off, and
I appreciate
it doesn't go unnoticed, you know. So
there very much wouldn't be a lot of the great things that happen in this scene if it wasn't for you.
Yeah,
and
1,000%.
That's just
thanks,
the truth,
man.
dude.
I appreciate that.
That's just the truth.
What I'm getting at, I'm not fishing for compliments, I swear.
You're getting
What I'm getting at is like, you know, typically if you were to, you know, come and sneak in my house at night, I'm a pretty cynical guy overall. I'm pretty kind of jaded when it comes to that. When it comes to politics and organized religion and all that kind of stuff and whatever. And I feel like there's so much of that already. There's so much of it on the internet. There's so much of it in journalism.
Yeah.
There's so much of it in like, let's focus on anything else that's good.
No, and I totally
especially
agree.
in Northeast PA.
Yeah.
Where I feel like that cynicism really does take over sometimes. And, you know, to an extent, I get it.
Yeah.
You know, wages are low and haven't changed.
Yeah.
Political corruption around here is utterly
100%.
insane.
Yeah.
Comical levels of corruption in this area.
Yeah.
You know, things like that can really, you know, beat you down.
Yeah.
And be like, boy, this
and
area
it makes you
sucks.
feel like what
I
you're
can't wait to get out of here.
Yeah, it makes you feel like you're working towards nothing, you know. And
Right.
no matter what, though, I feel like like the way, just like how you said, like you can always find something to bitch and complain about, no matter what, no matter where you are, what you're doing. You could have the best day of your life, and you could still find 1,000 things to be upset and negative about. And I'm guilty of it for, you know, many things in my life, especially just as a musician trying to make it in this industry. And I always feel like I'm running into a wall. But then, you know, it takes like one day like this for me to be like, well, no, this is why we fucking do it. Because like, it's because it feels so great to be a part of something and to do something for other people as well. And just, you know, so I feel like that's the whole thing. You know, I heard so much for so long about how this area sucks and the music scene sucks and everyone's miserable. And, you know, some of that could be true. There could be a lot of miserable people, but I also think that there's so many good qualities that Scranton has. And I also think that there are also a lot of friendly people here, you know. I feel like every time I bring bands into this area, one of the things everyone always says to me is they're like, wow, everyone's so nice. Everyone's so nice here, you know, and I feel like it's funny because I feel like I kind of hear the opposite from people that live here. Everyone's fucking miserable, and I'm like, I don't know, because you know what? Maybe we are all miserable in our own like head. Yeah. But I feel like for the most part, like everyone's pretty nice, you know. And I feel like if you're nice to other people and you just do what you can do and try to do things for other people and just show you care about something bigger than just yourself, you know, then you'll get that positivity and kindness in return. And I'm so grateful that anyone supports anything I do at all, especially this, because I just think that, like I said, it goes beyond just me playing a festival now. It's so much bigger than that and always will be. And that's why I love doing it, because it benefits other people. So
right. That's why I love highlighting that kind of stuff, because it makes you kind of go, oh yeah, life isn't all that bad.
Yeah,
there are a lot of great people, a lot of doing great things, and the area has a lot to offer.
I agree.
But you have to actually look for it.
And that is one thing I totally agree on. And, you know, I work at Grateful Roast in Clark Summit, so I meet a ton of people every day. I meet people that come and move here from out of the area. And it's funny because they all know me now as a person that's always writing down, like, oh, for like sports bars, you have this. For coffee shops, obviously, well, not coffee shops. You're at the best one. Yeah. But anything, you know, I give them recommendations on everything, and then they always come back and are very appreciative, and they love it. They always have such positive things to say. I met this one woman named Monique. She was the best. She lived in NEPA for about 1.5 years with her husband, and she was from the Netherlands. And I met her through coming to Grateful Roast. She came almost every day, and I mean, she lived in one of the most beautiful places on earth. Yeah. And had nothing but positive things to say about Scranton. Like, absolutely fucking loved it. Loved everything about it. She'd walk in, everyone knew her. You know, she's just so positive and happy, and it's just like, people here, I can never imagine anyone being that optimistic about our area, you know. But when people come from out of the area to here, they always have positive things to say.
Yeah.
You know, so I think we're kind of just hindered by like our own, I don't know, not like our own needs, you know, as a community, like lack of venues or something like that. But when you really take a step back and see what this area has to offer, like the up and coming bands that are coming out of this area that are blowing minds, and obviously the people that have still been doing it. You know, we've been doing it forever. You've been doing it longer than me. And you can get jaded. You know, it's so easy to get jaded. Sure. There's so many days where I wake up and I'm like, fuck all this. I hate this. I don't know why I ever decided to play music. And then I literally have like someone be like, hey, dude, listen to one of your songs today or something. And I'm like, oh, never mind. Everything's totally fine. Everything's right back to being fine. So
you said it before, though. It's like it's a choice, you know?
Yeah.
Like it really is. I mean, outside of having like clinical depression, you know, it is a choice how you are going to view this area, the lens that you're going to see the art scene. You know, I think there's a tendency to not to go off on like a weird thing or anything real quick, but I do think there's like a tendency of people to see a lot of things happening, you know, like other shows or festivals or people going like, oh man, you know, this doesn't happen for me, and a lot of people don't, you know, like this anger could kind of ruminate and stir up about like, why aren't these things happening in my center of the universe? But 90% of the time though, it's like these people like James is literally put a whole festival together. Like it's you've put all of NEPA Scene together, you know. Like it takes a concerted, like focused effort and so much time, and you have, and it's a decision to see the good in those things and see the good in others too. So
right, and to make, instead of being bitter about, oh, I didn't get on that show or whatever, go to the show, introduce yourself.
Oh my God.
You know, be seen at other people's shows, and they'll go, oh wow, this person's always supporting. Well, we would love, you know, I think we should put him on the next one. You know,
I have a great story about this band right here. So,
okay.
We already decided, like, it was last summer, we had already decided that they were going to play for this year. We didn't tell them that though yet. And then day of the festival, and this is not going to be an issue this year, I was like, oh, we have nobody running the door. So who jumped up and saved the day for hours is Maddox. And Maddox stayed at the door for hours and like insisted on doing it. And it was like, even in that moment right there, I was like, you guys, like, luckily you guys fucking rip. You guys write amazing songs. You're so tight live. I'm like, but even that gesture alone, I'm like, you could absolutely suck, and you're probably gonna play next year, because that you just saved our ass, and you went out of your way to help us when there's like, it's not like there's nothing guaranteed from that, you know. And I remember just seeing that in him, and I was like, damn, dude, that's just like such a good quality to have, especially for someone younger. And it just like really, that was like what, I don't know, it made me really appreciative of just that. And that was definitely like, if there was no hesitation, but there was, if that would have knocked it out regardless. But right there, I was like, damn, dude, like, you're supporting this event, you know, you're not miserable that you're not a part of it, you know. And I've dealt with so much of that, and it sucks, but I just feel like no matter what, if you know, just continue to show why you deserve to be playing these big shows and support other people and go to other shows, and you know, and not to say that people who do that already that haven't played this yet are not doing it enough. It's just that, like, again, there's only so many people we can give this out to. It's really, really difficult to make that decision on who plays and who doesn't this year. But the goal is that if you will play it, you will, if you're in this area and you're doing all the right things, I promise you that, like, we notice, we will put you on, you know. It just all takes time, you know. And I felt the same way. I used to have shows come by and I'm like, damn it, I should be playing that show, and I'd be bitter and jaded. and then what does it do? It doesn't do anything.
Zero. Right. It's the worst thing.
Yeah, and that's why I think like out of that jaded feeling I had a couple years ago, I'm glad I did something positive out of it instead of just sat there and like ruminated and been like, wow, I'll never play a festival, I'll never do this, everything sucks. I just threw that hypothetical out into the world like, I'll just start my own, and who would have thought that 3 years later we're doing this well and that it's probably going to be our best year, and it's fucking crazy, but yeah.
For us, like that's our whole thing, like especially being the younger guys out here on the scene, it's all about respecting all the people in the scene, and like we'll go to shows and we just want to make friends with you. Like we're in this scene together, and we want to lift everyone up around us, and we hope that you will lift us up too. And that's kind of like Maddox always mentions it, but it's like if we see you doing well, it's like that's amazing. And then like if you see us doing well, we want you to be lifting up with us. This scene, it's not like, I don't know, like we talked to Johnny Popko a while ago, and he was like, yeah, like, it used to be where like everyone was fighting each other, like, oh, I'm pissed that I didn't get that show, or we're pissed that you didn't get the show. And for us, it's the complete opposite. It's like, oh, you got that show, that's awesome for you, like, and we want to be there for you, and like, and we hope that when we go play a show that you're there for us too. And it's kind of like we always say, it's NEPA Scene versus the world. It's NEPA versus the world. Where like we know that we have a unique place in the Wilkes-Barre Scranton area. We know there's something special in the water here from all the bands that came out of it and all the bands that are here. There's something special here, and we want to just be able to put everything on that pedestal. So like we've made so many friends in this area, and like I've seen it growing up at the galleries. I've been working there since I was 10 years old. I've seen so many bands come in and out, and like you could really tell. I'm never gonna name any names, but there's guys like I was there and I was like 16. I'm like, yeah, like I play in a band. Like it's so nice to meet you. I'm like, yeah, like keep it up. Or like it's guys like, oh yeah, cool, like whatever. Like you're just a kid.
Right.
And there's such a difference between like you remember those positive interactions with so much better. And like being a kid, like seeing some star play at the store, and then them saying, yeah, like, keep the dream alive. It's like that just makes us want to run through walls.
Yeah,
it's a good boy. They're all good boys in that.
Stone's a little crazy.
He's a little out there. But no, and I think like that is just such a perfect representation of like, especially the youth in this area. The younger bands, they have a much more positive and welcoming mindset than some of the older bands. And I feel like a lot of the times it's the older bands that are the ones that are jaded, you know, and like maybe won't want to give a younger band the time of day when it's like, we all were at that point at some point. And at that point, all you want is just to show that you support other people and that other people will hopefully support you. And like you guys are a perfect example of like constantly supporting local shows, constantly doing, just so much. And then it shows because you guys rule and you have people showing up, at your shows, and it's awesome. And that, I think your personalities really, they go a long way. Like I think you guys are all just very kind dudes, and that's gonna take you guys very, very far.
100%.
Thanks.
As well as writing really fucking good songs.
Yeah. It's very inspiring from afar too. I know that we don't know each other very well, but it's very inspiring to watch.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's the truth.
Like you were like some of the guys we look up to. Like this whole area is like, of course Maddox has a title fight tattoo, but but like even like the small, like everyone we look up to all the like Estacota, you guys even when like Vinny was playing all those bands, like
that's how I felt with Ed when I was watching Ed play in a Social State when I was like fucking 17 years old. Like, God, dude, he rocks. So I'm playing at Duffy's Coffee House in 2014, and I was like, dude,
that was crazy.
Yeah,
that was crazy.
It's amazing. It's just a boy.
I was too, James. I was too. Comes on quick, buddy.
Let's read some quick positive comments here. We got Amanda said, Ed, thank you for being you. Miss you. Thank you for all the great music or amazing music. Jared says, hi, homies.
Hello.
Let's see. Maura says, excited for this event. Glad taking my timid teenager to a bar worked out for the best.
Oh, my God. Oh.
Nice.
It absolutely did.
Yeah. Oh my
she
God.
is a kick-ass punk rocker now who could kick all of our asses.
Yeah.
Jared says, "Love Lab forever." Jared Jekowitz.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I didn't want to mispronounce his name there. But isn't he the guy who's been doing some DIY?
He does the house shows.
Yeah.
He
did Summerfest, right?
Yeah.
Or it was a Jam Fest. There's two Jareds, and I apologize to both of you boys.
Cool.
I met both of them the same day. But they both do house shows, and they both are really cool dudes.
Guild House, I think they call it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we did a couple of Jared House shows.
Yeah.
Those are always fun.
Yeah.
We did Summerfest not this year, but last year.
Mm-hmm. They're awesome. Awesome shows.
Samantha says, "I've loved the couple of times I've been up to shows that way." Yeah, I think there is something unique about Northeast PA shows for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And Monty says, "What's up, fellas? Can't wait to see all the bands at the fest."
Oh,
nice.
So make sure that if you haven't already, save this man's heart. Get him tickets are on sale now.
They're on sale.
At goodthingsfestpa.com. So make sure that you grab those. And anybody who leaves a comment on this post or the post we'll be making over the next couple of days, so make sure you leave a comment or whatever. We'll give away 2 free tickets to the festival.
Shit.
So if you tuned in tonight and you left a like or comment or anything like that, we will put you in the running for that. So make sure that you do that, whether you're watching live or you see this stream later. Make sure you leave a comment and let us know that you watched and you're interested in the tickets. And we'll make some posts across our social media this week. So if you're not following NEPA Scene, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, wherever, make sure you leave a comment and we'll definitely put you in the running for those free tickets. And so let's I feel like we should wrap up on some positive notes. Quickly, I wanted to ask you about do you have any new music coming out? Because let's see, last album was what, 2021?
Yeah.
So and you've had a couple singles since then.
Yeah, I've had just one single. I've had one song come out in the last 2.5 years.
Okay, so we got anything cooking?
Yeah, I've been slowly chipping away at a record for a very long time. We will be playing one new song this year at the fest. I'm really excited about it. It probably will be the first single, but I would hope I have some music out this year, but sometimes, it's not really up to me. So it's
sure.
Hopefully this year, definitely next year for sure. No later than 2025 will I have a record out. Thank God.
So if Kansas had trees, what do we got coming up?
So just shows now. We put the record out last month, so it'll probably be some time. We have 0 things written now.
You guys did just do a tour, so
yeah. And Maddox has been gone with One Step for the month. But yeah, we're gonna get back into the writing, back at Rockology writing in August, which will be nice. And hopefully some new stuff in 2025, but we can never promise anything.
Yeah. Gets worse as you get older.
Yeah, it's tough. But we do have a bunch. We're going to have a bunch. We're trying to do a show once a month. So whether it be here or New Jersey or State College or West Virginia or Pittsburgh, that's where we usually hit. We're trying to do shows once a month. And there's some unannounced shows that follow us on Instagram. You can find out.
Okay, cool. Maybe if you want, maybe come on the podcast with the rest of the guys.
We'd love that.
We'll chat about it a little more. It's funny. I made a typo before. I think I put "if Kansas were trees." And I'm like, wow, that's getting existential. What if Kansas were trees? So we'll leave. You know what? We'll leave the mystery. I was going to ask you about the name. We'll leave the mystery for next time.
Yeah,
I love it.
So make sure you tune into that one if you want to actually learn the real name of the band and what it actually means. Ed, what does University Drive got coming up? Or
so we're gonna do this show in August, and then that's the last one. But we for a minute, but we do have a show we're gonna announce soon, and for that show, it's gonna be a very very important show because we are basically, we've been saving a bunch of money, and over the course of all the shows we've been playing, and with the plan being in November we're going to go and make a record. We're going to go to, I don't know if you're familiar with the producer Steve Albini, who's since passed away. He was a huge influence on me my whole life. All I wanted to do was record with him and record electrical audio in Chicago. When he passed away, it broke everybody's heart, but we said, well, fuck it, we got to go there and still record. So we set some time up there with the engineer, the head engineer now, Greg Norman. We're doing it all straight to analog tape, no computers, live in the B room, and it'll be like 6 or 7 songs, something like that. But basically what I'm saying is we're going to try to use this show that we're going to announce soon with some awesome bands that are going to be on it as like the one big push to kind of make this record happen. So if you're out there, just keep your eyes and ears tuned into all of our socials and stuff for all that. So
nice.
Yeah.
So I feel like we should leave off on something positive. So if you want to maybe think about something that you think is a positive thing to come out of northeastern Pennsylvania, or something, maybe the thing that you love most about the area or the music scene, or whatever you want to do. I think that's how we should leave off.
Yeah. Pizza. All of the pizza.
All the pizza.
All the pizza is my favorite thing.
I will say we do have some pretty goddamn good food.
It's pretty damn good, dude.
I will say I'm just glad that I can go anywhere here and know someone, know a friend, and like I said, I think a lot of people like to think that everyone's miserable here, but I honestly think everyone's actually pretty nice here and supportive and welcoming, and I just love being able to go places and feel at home no matter where I'm at. So that's why I try to get everyone to come here for one day and hang out and feel that for just a little bit.
It is if you have not been to Scranton, or maybe haven't been in a while, that's definitely a good one to stick in your memory. It's like, oh yeah, that is Scranton. That's pretty great.
Yeah.
Oh, me. I think, I mean, I mentioned before, but like just the music scene in general around here. I mean, like I've been working the gallery sound since I was 10. and it's the only thing I've known. Not really, but you know, like I went away to college in New Jersey, and there's a lot more people crowded in a lot smaller of a place, and it's a lot less personal. And I think like I'll work the register at the gallery, and I'll know half the people that walk in. And just, you know, from my grandfather teaching me saxophone when I was in the 5th grade to, you know, rockology to the store. I mean, it's really, I owe a lot to the local music scene. So,
yeah.
Well, thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming on, and
thanks for having us,
telling us about all these good things that are happening. I'm excited to be there as well. We'll have a tent set up so you can buy some shirts from us, or you know, our merchandise. We have stickers and buttons and all that good stuff. But the main thing is I just want to experience the day. It's it's always so much fun, and hanging out with the other vendors.
It's a really beautiful thing, and I'm very excited for it. I
love actually being able to interact with people in person too. You know, so much of what I do is digital and social media and stuff like that. So other than the open mic, I don't, maybe if somebody recognizes me at a show or something like that. But most of the time, I don't get that. So it's nice to have that interaction with people who are familiar to, come around and be like, oh, I really liked that article, or oh, I saw that podcast. It was really good, and that sort of thing. That's awesome. That's really good.
But like I said, the whole thing is just to support everybody else with it. So, that's the dream, so that everyone can get something out of it.
Yeah.
All right, so Good Things Are Happening Fest is back at the Scranton Iron Furnaces for the 3rd year with 11 bands on Saturday, August 10th. Tickets, which are $25 in advance, so it's cheaper if you get your tickets now, are on sale now at goodthingsfestpa.com. Again, if you guys want free tickets, make sure that you leave a comment down below. Like it, share, whatever you want to do on this live stream, wherever you're seeing it, on whatever social media platform you're watching it on. And we will also post later in the week for additional chances to win these tickets. But thanks for tuning in to the NEPA Scene Podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like, please share, please do all the fun algorithm things to please the algorithm gods and make this get out to more and more people. Even if it's, maybe it's you're waiting for me to do a podcast on this genre, that thing, or interview this person or whatever. By getting us into more and more feeds, you're helping all of that happen. So hopefully you enjoyed this one, and